The soft click of the front door lock broke the stillness. That was my cue. I brought the glass of scotch to my lips and took a slow, deliberate sip. The liquor slid down my throat with a familiar sting, warming the hollow space in my chest. The ice shifted in the glass, a muted clink that contrasted with the quickened thudding of my heart. I recognized that sound too, the rhythmic echo of high heels on polished wood floors. The sound of someone trying to pretend nothing was wrong, trying to act like the day hadn't been built on lies. She was wearing something different tonight. I could tell by the way she moved, too smooth, too self-aware. Silk whispered over her skin as she entered the room, wrapped in red lace that clung to her frame like a promise. Her eyes locked onto mine for a second, then dropped to the coffee table, where a carefully organized stack of papers lay under the warm light of the lamp. Receipts. Her smile, once meant to dazzle, faded. Her hand went to her throat, a fragile, trembling gesture. I saw the color drain from her face. She knew. Her voice cracked as she barely managed. "What is all this?" I swirled the ice in my glass, the sound cold and sharp. "Proof," I said, voice flat. "Proof of everything you've been hiding." The receipts told the whole story. Nights at hotels, expensive dinners, gifts that didn't come from me. A year of betrayal recorded and laid bare. Even the crimson lingerie she now wore had its price tag in that pile. "John, please, I can explain," she said, her voice raw, all her false confidence stripped away. I'd seen that vulnerability once, back when we were real, before deceit became her second language. "Explain what, Phoebe?" I asked, meeting her gaze fully for the first time. "How you managed to turn love into a lie." Tears shimmered in her eyes, but I remained unmoved. I didn't believe them anymore. "It just happened," she said weakly, her voice cracking. "It didn't mean anything." A bitter laugh escaped me. "A full year of sneaking around. That means nothing to you." She opened her mouth to speak again, but I raised a hand to stop her. "Don't." I stood up slowly, walked over to the window, and looked out at the glowing city. Then I said, "He's on his way." Her head shot up. "Ethan?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Yes," I said simply. "I invited him." The doorbell rang. Her face turned ashen. I walked to the door and opened it. Ethan stood there awkwardly, holding a half-wilted bouquet, smiling like a fool who didn't realize he was already the punchline. "John," he said, trying to sound casual, eyes darting past me. "Come in," I replied coolly. "Phoebe has something she needs to share." He hesitated, then stepped inside. Phoebe stood motionless, caught like a deer in headlights. "Go on," I urged her. "Tell him about the dinners, the hotels, the lies." She didn't move. "Tell him," I shouted, the room echoing with the force of my voice. She winced, shaking. Then she spoke, halting at first, but soon her confession spilled out in a flood of shame. She told him everything. The affair, the deceit, the carefully crafted facade. Ethan's expression twisted through disbelief, pain, and finally rage. He flung the flowers at her feet, petals scattering across the hardwood like broken promises. He lashed out, yelling, cursing, accusing. And I watched, not with anger, but with quiet satisfaction. I had orchestrated this moment. When Ethan finally turned to me, his face flushed with fury, he spat. "You planned this. I just gave you the truth," I said calmly. "Something you clearly refused to see." He stormed out, slamming the door so hard it rattled the walls. That sound marked the end of their charade. I turned back to Phoebe. She looked hollow, surrounded by the crumpled remains of her deceit. "It's over," I said, my voice void of warmth. "Us, him, all of it." The days that followed blurred together. She moved out, leaving behind only the faint trace of her perfume and memories I no longer cared to keep. The divorce moved quickly. No dramatic scenes, no last pleas for forgiveness. Just cold signatures on cold paper. I sold the apartment, the home that had become a shrine to betrayal. I relocated, started a new chapter. It wasn't easy. The wounds lingered for a while, aching quietly. But with time, the pain dulled, replaced by something sturdier, resolve. One night, months later, I was sitting alone in a quiet cafe, sipping black coffee. A newspaper sat on the table beside me. A small article on the third page caught my attention. Ethan, his full name unmistakable, had gone bankrupt. Poor decisions, failed ventures. He'd lost his company, his home, his standing. I folded the paper slowly, a faint smile tugging at my lips. Not joy, but a kind of grim satisfaction. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's just watching people fall on the swords they forged themselves. I finished my drink, paid the bill, and stepped out into the cool night. The city lights glimmered, no longer tainted by old pain. And as I walked forward, I felt it at last, peace. The future stretched ahead, unknown but unburdened. For the first time in years, I felt ready to live it.